So this is quite an interesting backstory here. Can you kind of walk us
Sure.
through this journey? Tell us how you first became a professional artist, and then that chance encounter with the businessman.
Right. I suppose I became a professional artist when I started selling my paintings, and that was in high school. I would make paintings in the art department, and the art teacher would hang them in the administrative offices, and I'd sell them for $15, and I'd get 5. The art department would get 5, and the school would get 5. So that was the beginning. And after high school, I was fortunate to have a scholarship to the Memphis Academy of Art. And at that time, yes, I wanted to be an artist, but it was a bit vague. I didn't know what kind of artist, and I had the invitation. And what was most interesting for me at that time, I was 19, and being 19, what I really wanted to do was just get away from home. And I got a map, and I saw that Memphis, Tennessee was 1,500 miles from New York. And I said, that's where I want to be. And there's a zoo near the art academy, so that sounds great. So I went there, and to my surprise, the art academy was quite contemporary. And by that, I mean, they were right on top of the newest art trends, the developments in art that were going on at that time. Now I'm talking about the early 70s. And I was totally oblivious to all of that. My inspiration was the Saturday Evening Post with Norman Rockwell covers that came into the mailbox. And so I was a very conservative, realistic artist. And I found it a bit strange there. And so after a year, I gave up the scholarship, and I started doing portraits on the street in Memphis. That means in the theater district at night. And also at that time, I was, might sound strange, while I was still at the art academy, a woman phoned and asked if she could get portrait lessons from someone. And I was the only one in the school doing portraits. I was the school weirdo. I was doing conservative portraits, and everyone else was doing things that I simply didn't understand. And the woman, when I went to her house, I knocked on the door, and a man's voice said, "Come in." And I walked in, and he tried to shake my hand, and I reached my hand out, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw a 4-foot-tall chimpanzee running across the floor, put her hands around my neck, pulled herself up, and started sucking on my beard. And the woman was in the background screaming, "Don't shake his hand. It's a good thing you didn't shake his hand, because she would have attacked you." And she became my portrait student for a year. And at one time, she even brought the chimpanzee to the theater district to pose, to get a crowd around me. So that's kind of how it got started, really, in Memphis. Yeah.
How does a person not know to warn a person in advance about a killer chimpanzee?
Well, very, very early in the portrait lessons, I found out she was kind of wacko. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Also, what was the deal with it shaking? Like, you couldn't shake the chimpanzee's
The chimpanzee
hand?
didn't know who I was.
Oh, and so you can't, in chimpanzee etiquette, I guess, you don't want to shake his hand.
She would have perceived me as an unknown, a stranger attacking a member of her family.
But she could jump on you.
Oh, I get it now. He's not allowed to shake her hand, not the chimpanzee.
Yeah, the husband's hand. Yeah.
Oh, his hand. Okay, that's where. I was exactly where Rena was. I'm like,
okay.
Why would the chimpanzee want to shake your hand if he's tricking? Is he just tricking you? Like, they always fall for this. All right, I'm with you now.
Okay.
It's kind of like a dog. Yeah, we had a dog, and if somebody just walked up and gave me a hug or something, the dog would have ripped their leg off. Yeah. I know what you mean now. Right. I get it now. I was just like, wow. All right. I'm amazed about the chimpanzee. Where was this?
It was in a German town just outside of Memphis. and she wanted portrait lessons. So I came, I don't quite remember, I think once a week
And
for a few
brought the
hours.
chimpanzee.
And I got very involved with the family also. And I
Oh,
had dinner.
okay.
The chimpanzee had to use a knife and fork, and we'd watch television together, me and the chimpanzee, and it was interesting.
Well, that's a TikTok video, but it's
Yeah.
too far back.
But the thing was that the chimp was part of an experiment. I think it was called I can't remember the name. It was a project. I think it started at the University of Oklahoma, and these chimps were in different families, and they were being raised as humans in a family. And one of the important things they wanted to know was that the chimp at a certain age, I think 5, would be artificially inseminated, and they wanted, among other things, after having lived with a human family for 5 years, how would the chimp react to its own child?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. That's sorry.
Yeah,
You can't say chimpanzee here and not get a big list of questions.
and you're saying, and this was in the 80s or the?
This was like 71.
Okay.
71. Yeah.
That's the
Yeah,
year
I feel
was
like
born.
now they would not allow people to do a study like that.
Yeah, right.
No,
Yeah,
but-
I saw they made a movie about it, but I can't remember the NIM project, I think it was called, NIM.
Yep.
Oh.
And there was a show called BJ and the Bear at that time too.
Okay, I missed that.
Yeah. Truck driver that has a pet monkey.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
I mean, I was born in 71, but I remember seeing reruns.
Oh, really, really interesting. So, okay, yeah, we got really stuck on this chimpanzee.
Sorry.
chimpanzee thing.
So I was doing portraits in the nightclub at night, and then someone said, well, you're really good. Why don't you go to Southland Mall and Elvis Presley Boulevard? And I said, oh, okay. So I went there, and they didn't allow me to do it in the mall, but I went to a Sears Roebuck store there, and I met with the manager, and he said, sure, you can do it right at the beginning of the mall. That would be fun. Okay. So I set up my little store, I guess you'd call it, and it was right near the record department. And if I had no one sitting for me, I would grab some Barbra Streisand albums or Elvis albums or I don't know, whoever, and I would do these large composite things with faces. And I would sell them. And at one point in December, early December, I was doing one of Elvis, with the microphone and being very emotive. And while I was working on it, I heard a voice behind me say, wow, the king would love that. And I said, the king? He said, the king, Elvis. And I went, oh, yeah, I hope so. And he said, I'm Scotty Moore. I do backup guitar for Elvis and vocals. What would you ask for this? I need a Christmas present for Elvis. And I said, I thought, well, he works, my mind was working fast. I said, he works for Elvis, and okay, I'm gonna do it. $45. I thought.
Wow.
I mean, that was big money for me then. And he said, okay, and let me know when it's done. This is my card. And he said, do you put it in a small frame? And I said, sure, I can do that. So I was getting ready to go up to New York for Christmas, and I thought, oh yeah, I got to phone that guy. It's done. And he said, I'll be there in half an hour. Half an hour later, a red Maserati, a Ferrari, stopped in front of my car, in front of my apartment. And he got out and took it and said, thank you, and give me a call when you're back from New York. I said, okay. So I got back from New York a month later, gave him a call, and he said, come to Graceland. Elvis wants to thank you. And so that was my big Elvis moment. That was fun.
Wow. What was it like going there?
Well, of course, there's that big gate with a guitar player on it, and that opens, and you drive in, and I just sat in the living room on a couch next to a Christmas tree, and in strode Elvis, and put out his hand. There was no one screaming, "Don't shake his hand."
Yeah, I was just gonna say, no.
Don't shake the king's hand. And he just said, thank you, Michael. Thank you very much. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And that was it.
And then he told you to leave. Like, so you just wanted.
He didn't say leave, but I kind of sensed this was my moment to exit. Yeah. I don't want to waste this time too much.
How long of a trip was it from there to there? I mean, I'd do it too. I'm just wondering.
You mean
To get there, to get to Graceland?
from where I was living? At
Yeah.
that time? Oh, at that time, oh God, 15, 20 minutes.
Oh,
'Cause
okay.
I was in Memphis
Oh.
also.
Fine.
Yeah. Of course, I didn't pull up there with a Ferrari. It was a beat up Ford that I had. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So you walk in, he comes in, says, thank you, it's beautiful. And then it's gone. And they're like, okay, I'm going home now.
Yeah, everyone kind of
Wow.
looked at each other, and I said, well, pleasure to meet you, and enjoy the painting, something like that. And,
So a guy drove to your house to tell you he wanted you to go there so he could
no,
thank you?
no, he drove to my house to pick up the portrait when it was done.
Oh, okay. And then he called you and said, come on down. And wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
because
he
you
was-
were back from New
Yeah.
York. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's just, wow. It's so, I wouldn't leave. I'd just stay there. Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm processing that. So did you stay in touch with the guitar player?
No, I didn't actually. When about a few years later, I think it was 77, I was in New York with my girlfriend at that time, and we had an apartment in Greenwich Village, and suddenly listening to the radio, and suddenly an Elvis song came on, and I looked at her and I said, he's dead. Elvis died. And she said, how did you know that? I don't know. I got a feeling that's why they're playing his music. And that was when it happened.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Well, I guess if you don't hear it much on the radio,
I think that was it. It's like, what's happening here? It was like
Yeah.
breaking news sort of song. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Huh. Sorry, digress. Chimpanzees and Elvis.
Yeah. It all goes downhill from here, the stories.
Yeah, we're off to a great start here.
I also did construction work at that time to make some money, and but someone again saw my portraits, and they said, you should go to this guy Paul Pevsner. He was the portrait artist of the Mid-South area. So somehow I got in contact with him, and I went over to him, and he looked at my work, and he said, wait, this is very good, and but where are you from originally? And I said, New York. And he said, what the hell are you doing in Memphis? Get back to New York and get to a good art school there, because there's plenty, and get a good education. And I said, yeah, okay, good advice. So that's what I did. Went back up to New York, and I was with my girlfriend at that time, and that I had met after returning to New York. And we were in Greenwich Village, and I started walking. We had an apartment on Sullivan Street. I don't know if you know Greenwich Village at all. And I had permission to do portraits in front of the Cafe Figaro on Bleecker Street in Greenwich Village. So I would put 2 chairs on my shoulders and my portfolio and my easel and my paper, and I'd charcoal, and I'd walk over to the Cafe Figaro, and I'd set up. And one day I was there working, and there was a guy walking on the sidewalk doing caricatures. And he said, wow, like your portraits, who do you study with? And I said, nobody. And then I said, you? And he said, well, I'm studying with so-and-so at the National Academy of Design. I said, oh, wow, okay. I said, who else teaches there? And he mentioned a few names, and he said, Harvey Dinnerstein, who was an artist I very much admired and had heard of. And I said, you're serious? He said, yeah. Do you have any paintings? And I said, I have a few. And he said, well, you still have time. They have 2 full scholarships a year. Give it a shot. I said, okay. And I got one of the 2 scholarships. So I got into the National Academy of Design and studied with Harvey Dinnerstein. And then I went to another art school on the Art Students League. And so in total, I studied about 4 years in Manhattan. And that's where I got my real art training.
Wow. So you would just go out on the street kind of like a musician and
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And did you have to get a permit back then or?
No, I didn't.
Wow.
No.
Wow. That's really neat.
Yeah.
Did you like put a hat out or anything, or is it just?
No, I would sit there and like a couple would come by and he'd say, honey, why don't you sit? He does great portraits. And okay. And she'd sit and I'd do a portrait.
How long would that take? I was curious. Like, could you do one of us right now? Like,
oh, sure.
Right now.
Don't move. I don't know, maybe half an hour, 20 minutes.
oh, wow.
That's pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I
That's
was
so worth
doing-
it.
I was doing portraits of my family when I was, I don't know, from the age of 5, 6, 7, something like that. I was drawing at a very early age. So that was something I always did. I was good at it. So while I was at the second art school, the Art Students League, I stopped working on the streets because the first instructor, Harvey Dinerstein at the National Academy, said, you got to stop doing that. It's you're learning bad habits. You're trying to do things quickly. You're doing things, just doing surface things, and stop that and focus on your study. I said, okay. So I decided I have to get a real job because I had no money to pay the rent. I had the scholarship, but I had to pay the rent and food. So someone said, be a waiter. You just do your work, you make your money, and it doesn't interfere with your study at all. So I got a job waiting at tables at a French restaurant, 52nd and Madison. And that is where I met the Dutch businessman, who was a guest at the hotel that was connected to the restaurant.
What's that? The Dutch businessman, like
the Dutch businessman was, and Rena said in the intro that was sort of the start of the really the start of my professional career. And I've told the story so many times, and it's very inspiring for people, so I never get tired of it. So he was there with a friend, and we started ordering, and I brought his food, and he said, well, what do you do? And I said, well, I'm your waiter. And he said, of course, but what else do you do? I said, well, I study art at the Art Students League in New York. Oh, well, what do you paint? And I said, mostly portraits, still lives. Oh, okay. And then I'd clear the table, bring another course. And when I brought him the check, he handed me a business card and said to me, would you like to come to the Netherlands and paint my son's portraits?
It's quite an offer.
Quite an offer. And I was in shock. And I said, well, sure, but you've never seen my work. And he said, yeah, I have a feeling about you, and take photos and send them to me. I'm very, very curious. I said, okay. So luckily at that time, I was, among other things, I was copying a Rembrandt at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. So that came in handy for a Dutch businessman. So I sent that along and other photos. And in July of 1981, my partner and I, we flew to the Netherlands, and things got started there. I did his son's portraits, his wife's portrait. We borrowed, they demanded we take their second car to travel around Europe. I had, for 2 months, I had every painting in every church and every museum noted. And we came back with the car, said thank you, and thinking we were going to go back to our restaurant jobs. But I had about 15 portrait commissions waiting for me in the time that I had been traveling. And he said, maybe a career is starting here. And so we left the apartment in Greenwich Village. We moved to the Netherlands, and with 3 friends, I had 4 sponsors, 3 friends of his, the businessman, and they promoted me in the Netherlands.
wow.
Out of nowhere.
That
That's
is
really cool.
such a fascinating story. Just
Yeah.
very random, and changed the whole, like, one meeting with a stranger changed the trajectory of your life. That's
Yes. And it was interesting because I was the front waiter that evening, and the back waiter was a friend of mine, a photographer. And I showed him the business card and told him the story, and he said, that's a joke. He's not going to do that. And you believed him, and blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah, I believe him. And there was never hesitation in my mind, and also no trepidation about leaving everything and going to a strange country. I was ready. I wanted to go. Yeah. So it's a matter of getting these don't look a gift horse in the mouth. It's a matter of getting these things put in your lap, but it's also a matter of grabbing them when the opportunity comes.
Yeah, you performed 3 things that I think it takes for success. You are skilled in something. You're not afraid to take an opportunity when it comes, even, because what will it hurt, and the luck factor. Those are like, I always thought of those 3 as being what you need to do.
Right.
Your photographer friend, he might have the first 2, but then he would have been like, that guy's not real. And then
Right. Ripped up the card and
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was totally unexpected.
Yeah. Wow, that's incredible. Jeez, I really should move to New York, or some big city,
Yeah, but those things can, those weird, crazy things can happen there. Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't happen here.
But I feel like I'm in LA, right? So I feel
okay.
like Jayson nailed that formula for, I'm sure that sort of thing happens here, but then there's so many people that, there are also a lot of scammers. So you do have to have a good intuition, or, be able to read people, I think. So you must have had some kind of feeling and trusted your intuition that this guy was okay.
Yeah, but also I think at that time, we're talking now, that was 1980, and that was before the internet, and also scamming is and that sort of thing is so prevalent, and everyone experiences it now, but it wasn't so then, at least to me it wasn't.
I guess they probably had to put in a lot more work then to scam you than they do now. So
right, but also, I'm eating in an expensive French restaurant. I'm going to see how much I can, get out of this poor waiter who's serving my table. There's not much profit there for him. Yeah, he's a scam artist. Yeah.
Oh wow.
That is a good point.
Yeah.
But I've had it also with we had a few years ago. I do home exchange. We had a home exchange in New York, and we flew over. We got in a cab. I gave him the address. I think it was something like 175 West 57th Street. And he said, it should be here. We were next to a car lot. And I went, oh my God, we got screwed. This is a scam. This is a scam. This person doesn't exist who's doing the home exchange. And my partner Lily said, but did he give you a phone number? And I said, wait a minute. Yeah, he gave me a phone number. So I phoned him up. Luckily, the man who I thought it would be answered. And I said, we're here. He said, where? I said, 175 West 57th Street. He said, oh, that's my wife. She's dyslexic. It's 57th Street, not 175. I said, oh God, okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's something I would do. Totally.
But that's a scary experience, especially when you're trying to stay somewhere and you're there and nothing is there.
Yeah.
Good thing it worked out.
Yeah.